Right now, wholesaling houses might be a opportunity level 4 out of 10, where land's like a 9 out of 10.
The best people in our community come from wholesaling because you guys got the grind, you got the work ethic. If you can make it work over in wholesaling houses, it's going to be much, much easier on this side.
So few industries you could be, where they get a phone call and they get a $100,000 profit deal. One phone call can change your business in a second.
All right, let's get into it, guys. We are back. In today's topic, we're talking about why we switched from wholesaling to land flipping. This is a huge topic because what we see with our community, Ron, a lot of people are coming from the wholesaling community. They come into land and it's like landing on the moon. There's less competition, right? There's a lot more inventory ready to go, better profit margins, all of that good stuff. And today we're going to talk about the transition of what it looks like from transitioning from wholesaling to land flipping, Ron.
Yeah, I think it's a huge topic. And so many of not everyone by any means, like if you can come into this industry from anywhere, we have so many different industries come here and be successful, but it's just a bigger opportunity. Like right now, wholesaling houses might be a opportunity level 4 out of 10, where land's like a 9 out of 10. And there's opportunity here. So when wholesalers, especially successful wholesalers, come over, like they kill it really, really quickly.
Exactly. And by wholesaling, we're saying like traditional, you have an investor list, right? You're getting a property under contract for 100,000. You have an investor list. You send it over to your investor list for $110,000. See if you can spike some things up. That's kind of the traditional wholesaling that we're talking about here. That being said, as land flippers, as land investors, we do wholesaling as well. It's more of a double close type of structure, which is, in my mind, a category of wholesaling because you're not tackling down the deal. You're not buying it and listing it. You're doing an A to B to C transaction pretty much in a day or even a few hours. So our form of wholesaling, if you guys are new, is double closing. Like I said, it's where you get the property under contract for 120 days. You list the property. So you get the property under contract with a seller for 120 days and you list it at the same time without buying it, right? So you have it under contract on the front end and you try to get it under contract on the back end, the disposition side, selling the property. And then you bring both sides into one day essentially with title and you close it on the same day. I just want to make sure that's clear. I know most people probably know that, but for anyone new here.
Let's talk about, let's talk more about house wholesaling, because I think that's where so many people come from. A lot of people are really successfully wholesaling land, and I think you can get better margins if you're coming from there. But the people who are in houses, that's what I'm intrigued by, because they don't even fully understand the opportunity in land at this moment. So I think there's a ton of opportunity just for them to learn about the land asset class. But what, Dan, right now, talk about, or from what you know, like the wholesaling houses industry as a whole, like what is that like right now?
I know some people that do it pretty successfully, and they got big operations. It's a lot of moving parts and pieces, though. You're talking about houses. A lot of them have boots on the ground in the area, multiple boots on the ground. They do it similar, though. A lot of them will have appointment setters, and then they try to get it to a closer, and the closer goes in, and the setters are and the closers are in person, and they go to the person's house and tries to acquire and get it under contract, which is kind of cool. And there's money there, so they do it like that, and they do it through text and postcards and stuff like that. Whatever, acquisition's the same, pretty much, but you send someone boots on the ground to try to close it in person a lot of times, or you can do it on the phone. I'm just saying the acquisition's very similar. On the biggest thing's the disposition side. That is the biggest difference.
Some of these people have, like, some of the successful ones have 20, 30 people, like cold calling teams. Like I've seen them in person as far as like having offices.
Yeah, it's machines. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And they have the
And
operations.
we can learn a lot from them.
For sure. And that's why I think there's so much opportunity for those guys coming over, or maybe splitting some time. And that's what we
They
had.
do it
We
different.
had
Yeah.
someone join probably about a month ago, and he was very, very successful in house wholesaling. And I think a lot of the people, Dan, run into land deals, and then they find the margin. They're like, "Holy crap! I just made
That
$50,000
happens a
on
lot.
this
Yeah.
$30,000 out of my pocket." And like so many people, house wholesalers come to land because they ran into a deal accidentally, ran into a land deal accidentally. They like looked into more than they find a podcast, find some information. They're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. How can I attack these deals at a higher scale?
That's one way. The other way is in the real estate community, they hear of a friend that's doing it and it's word of mouth. Land's getting out there, the profit, you hear it, and it's a great thing coming over to land for those wholesalers. Those are the best people in our community come from wholesaling because You guys got the grind, you got the work ethic. If you can make it work over in wholesaling houses and things, it's going to be much, much easier on this side, much, much less moving parts and pieces. You don't need to have all this in-person stuff. You don't need to have an investor list. You list it on the public market. There's just, it's a lot easier, Ron.
What's the barrier for them, Dan? Is it just like the learning about the asset class? Like they know they have if they're successful, like unsuccessful wholesalers, like there's a wide range. But
There's very little barrier.
if you're a successful wholesaler of houses,
Yeah.
you're coming over with a marketing machine typically, like to be able to get these deals and you can bring that over directly to land. I think the barrier, tell me if I'm wrong, Dan, is that the asset class, learning about the asset class, how things are done a little differently.
Yes, and that's a low barrier. I think if you guys understand wholesaling, you guys understand how transactions work, you guys understand how to acquire deals. I think it's a very, very swift and smooth learning process, Ron. You just have to understand how to
Comping,
analyze
yeah.
land. Comping land's the biggest thing, but also there's no investor list. So listing it, which is going to be easy for you, but still like understanding, just wrapping your head around, okay, this is a different business model. I'm trying to negotiate to actually acquire now instead of only, wholesale. So the your top limit of price is pretty low, right? Because you're not trying to wholesale unless you go the double closing route. So you just have to understand the business model a little bit. Other than that, it's very similar. Like you're going to double close and wholesale land too, maybe not to an investor list, but double closing wise. So having that in your back pocket with trying to actually buy and flip the land, because that's what we typically do. We send out a lot of offers for 40, 50, 60% market value, try to buy it, try to flip it, right? When that doesn't work out, when they need a little bit more money, they say, I want, $80,000 instead of $50,000. Try to work with them, see what you can do. And then when that makes sense, when they won't come down, that's when you offer something like a double close, which is like the traditional wholesaling, more traditional wholesaling. But I just wanted to explain that to clear it up when we use it because we like to balance both sides,
Yeah.
buying and flipping land and then double closing.
Before we get back to the episode, hit the subscribe button below, turn on your notifications if you haven't already. We bring this content to help you guys become better land investors, to have an amazing 2025 in land investing. Other than that, let's get back to the episode. Wholesalers typically they come over and they understand their data a lot more because the margins are much much tighter. Like in terms of like making money on your ad spend, a return on ad spend is a big data point. Not just for wholesalers, for doing land flipping, it's a big data point we look at. And sometimes wholesalers are coming over and they have a 3-4x return on ad spend. You come over to land like 9, 10, 11, 12 return 12x return on your ad spend is a very, very normal number. So that's why they can become and they can scale up so quickly. Anything else to touch on that just ad spend and like the return on ad spend difference? I think that's how you evaluate like a business model almost like, okay, I'm putting this much money into it every month, $10,000 every month for ad spend, and I'm getting 30,000 back. While land, you put 10, 12,000 in, you're going to get 100, $120,000 back. A huge, huge difference in the business models in that mindset.
Yeah, you just got to be factor time into that equation too, because there's ways to finagle out of ad spend and put your time in instead and get $0 ad spend, essentially. So you just got to balance the both of them out. Because if you're cold calling yourself, it's gonna be very cheap, and then you say, "Oh, I have a 10,000% ROI." It's like, yeah, because you're not spending any money besides a little bit on skip tracing to get their phone numbers.
Yep. For you, Dan, you transitioned from drop shipping. Obviously, that's going somewhere different than wholesaling, but you transitioned from in your mind at that time, a lower opportunity to land flipping. It's the same mindset, I think, as far as like transitioning from what you view as a lower opportunity. Can you talk about that kind of mindset though? Because it's easy to keep doing what you're doing. You were very successful drop shipping, but you found an opportunity like I got to go on to this.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was a couple things. I got in the industry in my electric bike industry very early, and it's before the electric bike boom in the United States. And I did it because I came back from Israel and I was living there for a year, and they used it like crazy, and they're very efficient with that type of stuff because they don't have a lot of natural resources. It's a small country. They're very efficient. So I brought it back over. And during the COVID boom, I sold the business because that's when electric bikes were going nuts, and I thought I could sell it at a peak. But besides those points, we are doing land at the same time too, and I just realized how profitable land was. And I knew I could sustain a very high. I mean, with e-commerce stores and stuff like that, you're lucky to make 50,000 a month. Like that's a killer store if you're profiting
Sales or
50,000
profit?
profit. Yeah, like that's you're crushing it. You're working off. It's essentially like I don't want to use the term wholesale, but it's like distribution, because you're buying a product and reselling it for more, right? And you have partnerships with different suppliers and manufacturers essentially in the U.S. So my job was to get different suppliers on board and then resell it for more. So you're working, guys. When you're in distribution, I came from distribution before that too, so I understood it from wholesaling building materials, things like that. Distribution, right? You're working off of 20-30% margins from what you're getting the product at to selling it at. That's that's margins before you factor in anything else, before ad spends, right? So you get something $100, you sell it for 130, 140,000, whatever it is, Ron. And then that's before your ad spend, that's before your employees, that's before your overhead, that's before all that. Distribution, these real distribution, you look at Amazon's margins and stuff. These distribution companies, their actual distribution is working off low single digit profits.
That's incredible. And then you come over to land, but you were overlapping the two. And I think that's kind of a good point, though. Like, okay, we're not telling wholesalers, Dan, to go all into land, drop everything they're doing successfully, but putting 20%, 30% of your energy, then if this turns out to be like a better opportunity, then you transition to 80, 90, 100%. I
Or
think that's
fully
a,
transition too. It depends. Like
some
if you're
people just like this isn't working, or like I see some a lot of the wholesalers that come over, like I see the end is near in terms of like the wholesaling or like the ability for them to make money. And that's where a lot of people have come over just fully. Like they just like, okay, I went from doing 3 deals a month to 1 deal a month, and now I'm fighting to do a deal every couple of months. And they see the opportunity in land and they understand the marketing.
Yeah, and it depends your scale too, because you have people like John Horner who do wholesaling, house flipping, property management. He has a firm up in Ohio. And John, I'm pretty sure I haven't caught up with him in terms of that, but I'm almost certain he's still running that. And I think he has a partner in that business too. And they have 20, I think the last I heard they had like 20, 30 employees or something like that. Could be wrong, but I know it was something like that. John wanted to make some money on the side too, outside of the firm. So John's land flipping as well, right? And that's one way, that's what we see a lot too. Like they have their business. And then a lot of people with businesses will come and do this on the side too, because they're like, I like that cash flow opportunity.
Once you get through the learning curve in land,
It's easy.
you do not need to put more than a couple hours. Like all of our coaches, like they're putting a couple hours in the day. They're putting a couple hours into their business a day, a couple hours into coaching a day. And like it just you can make so much happen once you get past the learning curve. The learning curve, those first 6 months, someone was saying it the other day, and maybe it was Discord or something, but they're just saying like it was actually a member success story in Discord, Dan. He was talking about the first 6 months and just like getting through the first 6 months. It's a grind. Like there's learning. You can definitely make money the first 6 months, but there's such a high level of learning through that.
Hmm.
And that's where people like make the biggest changes from that 6 to 12 month period, 12 to 24 month period. The people that aren't successful in this business drop off within like 2 months. Once you start 2 months, you're like you get past that, you believe in it. Then you get to 6 months, then you really start making money those 6 plus months.
Yeah, and a lot of people are profitable there for most
one Hundred
people
percent.
are profitable their first 6 months if you're going full in. And that's like from a business standpoint, that's insane. Just looking from like our background and the land portal and like all these other companies that people are creating and we've created to be profitable in your first 6 months. Because you know your next 6 months and the following 6 months, you're going to keep growing, right? The first 6 months is always the hardest. So if you're hitting profits in that first 6 months in land, which you will, it's just you won't find a lot with such low land's great because there's such low barrier to enter. Um, it's obviously work and things like that, but the profits reward you so highly.
I think a lot of people who are listening right now, Dan, who are successful in land or somewhat successful, or maybe like they look at their business like, wow, and they start comparing to other people, maybe we've had on the podcast or whatever.
Hmm.
Like if you're in your first six
It
months
can
and
be
you've
tough.
made money, which a lot of people listening here have, and they might be beating themselves up, like you are in compared to any other business model in the world, you're not going to find anything like it. Like businesses go out of business all the time in 6 months. People are in the hole 150,000 dollars. Like if you are profitable, close to profitable, made $20,000 your first 6 months, that's amazing. And like you can take it to the next level. Just keep on scaling up, keep learning. That's the biggest thing. I think some people make $200,000 their first 6 months. Amazing for sure. And it's possible. But that being said, like I don't want to. Some of the people who are making $10,000, $15,000 their first 6 months, you learned also a lot from your mistakes and stuff like that. And then like it only gets better from there, Dan. And that's the biggest thing. I think we don't talk about that enough is like comparing it to other business models, like, people are losing their shirts in other business models in the first 6 months.
Yeah, and the and on top of it, the profit potential is not that high in a lot of other businesses at first, at least. And I think of a lot of the different business models I've seen and I've been a part of, and it's like a lot of these guys are grinding to make
Mm.
$5,000, $8,000 a month. Really, seriously, like it's a grind to make 5, 7, 6, 7, $8,000 a month, and then like you just work your way up, and it's a grind. But a
Nothing
lot of them,
against droners, but it's a tighter business, like, it's just a tighter, like, it's a longer grow business model that, droners that we purchase, it's obviously a ton of value we bring to real estate
and it
investors,
does
a
much
lot.
more revenue too.
100%, yeah, a lot of revenue, it's just
Well,
the
the thing
margin,
with drone is the market cap. That's the thing. Like you can have tight margins if your market cap's massive,
for
right?
sure.
Droners can reach a lot of people. It's not in the land space. That's one of the spaces. It's in all kinds of spaces people would need drones for,
Mhm.
and that's why the market for it's massive. So that's what you can look at too.
So few industries, like if you own a restaurant, whatever it is, so few industries you could be, let's say your first 6 months, you're in the hole $5,000. You can get a phone call 2 hours, and people have done this where they get a phone call and they get $100,000 profit deal. Like it's just like it changes your business. One phone call can change your business in a second. And that's part of the mindset. Like I feel like the people that are positive about it, the people that see the like keep on pushing forward, like those are people that the good things happen to. They have more just positive energy about it. They get those phone calls, and then like their business uh turns really really fast. They get that big deal. That big deal is it's something a lot of people are going after, and a lot of people are getting those deals, those 6 to 8 months, I think.
Yeah, and there's obviously pros and cons too, like but not coming from wholesaling. Like wholesaling and land is very similar. There are pros and cons, but I was saying with the other businesses, land land flipping businesses traditionally are harder to sell, right? Just like
For sure.
house flipping or just that's just transactional real estate's hard to sell. Like when you're talking about transactional real estate like that, you're getting into it because of cash flow and you can build something to potentially sell for sure. I'm not doubting it, and I've seen businesses for sale, but it's harder. That's one of the differences, like with my bike company and these other companies. I
It's an
was able
asset.
to sell them. It's an asset that you're building, so you are getting lower margins, but you know there's going to be a payout at the end. So that's just one thing I want to throw out there. But that's you're in it for the cash, right? And you can buy businesses with that cash. You can do whatever with that cash. This business has opened up so many doors for us. I mean, we're buying all kinds of things: mobile homes, different businesses. We bought droners. We're on different projects right now. We started the land portal, and it enables you to use that cash in other places.
Just looking at it, thinking about it like that, Dan, and what the land money has allowed us to do, and how much we can invest in our education for our students, in coaches for our students, in media, providing content for you guys, building a software. Like that's all. That's what the cash from land investing did, and that's why I like starting any business. Like if you're an entrepreneur, starting, you want to start with a high margin business. Then you can go from there and build the asset. And like land investing is a cash cow. If you want to put it into long-term investments, some long-term multifamilies to help with tax reducing taxes, so many different options. But I think starting people who start like with a low margin business, Dan, I just don't. I think building up cash where you can put it into other things, and you learn so much in this as well.
Yeah, and like you said, you don't need to put too much time into this. So you combine like a high cash flow business with not as much time. What are you left with? You're left with time and money, which is great because then you can do whatever you want.
Hmm.
That's what our goal was, and that's what we did, and that's why I love the business in general. Like now I really like investing in other people's businesses. I think that's a few part of the future because then
I
I
love
don't
it.
need to put in the work, but you got the capital and it just opens up doors.
Yeah, entrepreneur, like, yeah, you have the cash now, and like it gives you a ton of freedom on how you can like build that in terms of investing in stocks, investing in real estate, investing in businesses, building your investing in your own business to build a new business. Like there's so many different options, and I think that's why. I think that's a lot of the reason why people get in. It can give you freedom to get out of your job too, like with a couple hours a day. I think that's one of the things we haven't really touched on yet, Dan. We can finish out with that is the ability for 2 hours a day to get you out of your full-time job,
Hmm.
90 minutes a day to get you out of your full-time job, or you can put a lot more into this, or you just put a lot more into your family and you add another hour, you do 3 hours a day. And then you have 5, 6 hours to do whatever you want with your life. I think that's one of the things is it fits with whatever you're doing in your life more times than not, pretty much always.
Yeah, and it might sound scary to a lot of people in terms of quitting your job right now. If you guys aren't in the community and you guys haven't done a land deal, it's like that's so far-fetched in your guys' mind right now because like you just want a deal and to make $10,000, $20,000. That's I feel like a lot of people get overwhelmed with like saying you can quit your job from this, but it is the truth and it does take a while. Doesn't 6, 12 months of hard work. It can happen. A lot of people in our community have done it. If you're in our Discord, you'll see people's success stories. And a lot of people, if you don't want to quit your job, you don't need to. Like a lot of people like their job and it's stability for them and they just want to make money on the side and be wealthy. It's fine too. Nothing at all against that. And that's what's cool about this business is it can cater you. But yeah, quitting your job, if that's like a lot of people come to like, I'm freaking miserable in my job, right? Uh, I need to get out as soon as possible. That's a great motivator. And that's a lot of people. And a lot of people are just like, I just want to make more money, keep my job. I work from home. I'm not even working that much. I'm pretty yeah, I got time. I'm ready to go.
There really isn't really a person that it doesn't fit for, like, it just does. Like, if you have the motivation to put the
It's a
time,
motivation.
energy, learn yeah, like, if you have that's when we talk to people who are interested in our program and stuff, is, like, the people that it doesn't work for and we don't try to, like, get them into our program are people that don't have the motivation, they don't have, like,
You'll fail.
the desire to make change in their life or whatever, like, that is the gap. Because financially, most people can figure out a way to make this work in some way because it isn't like a crazy financial investment from marketing or buying a program, whatever it
And you
is.
don't need to be smart.
No, you don't. Like there's a lot of stupid people making a lot of money in this business, but they're hyper focused on what they're doing, and they just
They're
got
smart
good
in
at
different ways.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're
You can
smart by
set up
ignoring all the
agreements.
outside
Yeah.
noise. Sometimes, yeah,
They're like, I like book smart? No, but they know what gets it done. They know what drives the needle. That's a whole different level of smarts. That's like street smarts. Um,
yeah.
and
Book
it
smart doesn't do shit.
Booksmart doesn't do anything. It will for scaling, like operations and stuff, but to get you to $1 million, it's not needed, right? To get you $1 million profit. So I think it's just balancing them both. But yeah, the one person like Ron's saying that this doesn't work for is people who don't have the motivation or desire for change and they're not going to make it happen. You'll fail 10 out of 10 times in pretty much anything you try to do. So you got
Yeah.
to dig deep on that one. But
I want to hear some from some wholesalers in the comments below, guys. If you
yeah,
guys have transitioned from wholesaling, maybe you guys are thinking about it, let us know in the comments below because I know there's a lot of people who have transitioned
transition.
from wholesaling to land flipping and done really, really well. Other than that, if you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it with a friend. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can leave us a review. Really, really helps. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.